Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our nightly Q&A session here at the Rishikesh Kirtan Fest. Have most of you just come out from the Kirtan? Very nice, huh? Do you feel uplifted, purified, happy? Everyone feel happy? That's so nice, isn't it? Oh, so beautiful. Okay, so we're ready to start. We're just looking for a question. One person, start a question. Who's got one? Anyone? Here we go, right up front.
Hello. Would you please explain how Krishna described karma and different type of karma in Bhagavad Gita? If there is any type of karma that can be removed consciously, or like how is it based on Krishna's teaching?
What is your name?
Sarah.
Sarah, thank you. Where are you from, Sarah?
I'm Persian American.
Persian American. You live in America? You live in
Now
Iran?
I'm living in Rishikesh 5-6 months every year,
Okay,
and the rest I'm traveling.
okay. Um, the Bhagavad Gita, of course, has so much to say about karma. And you know, different yoga paths, commonly they'll have like a great teacher who would kind of codify teachings that are coming from, like, they'll take from these ancient texts and then they'll draw from them, and then the teachings are so broad and vast that it helps to have someone with deep realization draw from those teachings and then set out a regimen, both philosophically and in terms of practice. And then they'll put out a text. Like, for instance, Patanjali didn't invent his path of yoga exactly, but he drew from so many other teachings that were out there, and then he packaged it in a particular way. And the Yoga Sutras is the book that you go to if you want to understand the path of Ashtanga Yoga. And similarly with Sankhya, you have this in different yogic paths. But the path of Karma Yoga, really for that you go right to the Bhagavad Gita itself. You go to the source. It's incredibly rich in understanding what Karma Yoga is. Now, Karma Yoga is a really important idea. It means that it's a combination of two things. What does karma mean? Action, right? Action. And especially karma in this context means the actions or the activities that are related to the social roles that you play in this world, right? We all have social roles that we play, do we not? Any mothers here? Mothers, raise your hands. Very good. Fathers? Any fathers here? Okay, fathers, very good. Husbands? Okay. Wives? These are all social roles that we play, and there's responsibilities that are involved with them. So those are some of the karmas that we do, some of the activities that we do. The idea was that in the Vedic culture, and the yogi culture, you could say, these responsibilities were kind of clearly articulated. People knew what it was to be a good husband, what it was to be a good wife, what it was to be a good mother, a good father. Also in the field of our occupations, right? What it means to be a good business leader. What are your responsibilities? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? You know, this was all kind of laid out. And the duties that you would do, the karmas that you would do, were designed in such a way to make the most of your strengths and help you overcome your weaknesses. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? Okay. So this is really significant that they had a culture based on a tradition of wisdom that could help one in all different stages of life, whether it's like, you know, your youth, your married life, your retirement, or even the life of renunciate, which would often come at the end of one's life. So whether it was the stage of your life in terms of age, or whether it was your kind of personality type, which would be reflected in your social in your occupation. Some people are business leaders, some people are employees, right? Some people are like, you could say the you could say the Justice Department or the Army, the police department, and generally like the rulers, the political end. And then there are spiritual leaders. And so all of these, in this culture, that your job and your occupation and your family duties and all of that, you would really have an idea of what it means to do it well and what it means to do it in harmony with the rest of the society, and still higher what it means to do it in harmony with the heart of God. Like that. So your karmas could be engaged. Now, there's part of this tradition that says that when we get too involved in society, we forget who we are. We think I'm these roles. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a business leader, I'm all these different things. Actually, we're none of these things. And so one path is to walk away from all of those. And this path is called karma sannyasa. Karma sannyasa. Has anyone heard that term before? What does sannyasa mean? Yeah. Yeah, most succinctly, sannyasa means to renounce, right? So karma sannyasa means I'm renouncing my social roles, my social responsibilities, and I'm going away. A lot of times this would happen towards the end of life, after you've had a family, raised your children, provided for them, um, and now they're grown up, they're taking care of themselves, and you can use this end period of your life for deeper spiritual pursuits. And sometimes it was at that time karma sannyasa. They walk away from the karmas. But that's one path. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he says there's actually another path, another way to practice yoga, and that's karma yoga, where your social activities, your social roles and responsibilities become yoga themselves. Now, yoga is going to mean settling the mind, focusing the mind, going within. And so the field for that type of contemplation was often seen by walking away from our social roles. That's Arjuna's idea of what it means in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. He's like, I want to walk away from my role as a warrior. He had that role as like the Justice Department, the army, the rulers. He was one of them. And it was his responsibility to step up and fight. And he was like, I'm in so much stress, right? I've got I got what a lot of materialistic people wish they had. I have fame, power, influence. I have wealth. It's just a beautiful family. He had so much, but he was also full of anxiety. On that battlefield, when it opens up, breaks my heart. Poor Arjuna, what he was feeling. Tears were coming from his eyes. His body was shaking. His voice was shaking. He couldn't even compose himself. He said, I've got the things that a lot of materialistic people want, but I don't have peace. I don't have happiness. And I've lived out in the forest, and I've seen the yogis out there. They don't have anything that I have. They don't have money. They don't have fame, power, influence. But what they do have is peace. What they do have is a happiness that comes from within. I need that. So I want to become a yogi. And the path of yoga is karma sannyas, is it not? And Krishna is saying that's one path. But there's another path, Arjuna. And that's karma yoga, where your work in this world becomes your path of yoga, where your field of contemplation is the realm of your social duties. And this can be done. Now, this is the thing. Naturally, Arjuna thinks, but isn't it a fact that when we engage in karma, when we engage in society, when we do all the things that you have to do, go out and earn wealth, right? Any family person has to do this to provide for their family, go out and earn wealth. And isn't it that in going out and earning wealth, don't we create karma for ourselves, that we do an action in the world and then there's a reaction that we have to come back to receive? Don't we become entangled in this world, right? And what this is real key. Are you ready now? We're getting right down to your question now. Krishna's going to say, it's not actually the action that brings the reaction. It's the attachment that we have that drives the action, that creates the reaction. So if you can work in this world without attachment, selflessly, then you can work in this world and not become entangled in it. And the name for this type of karma is called akarma. Akarma. It means you're working in the world, but you're not getting any reaction. Interesting, yes? So how does one do that? Is a combination of, you could say it's a combination of action combined with jnana. Karma combined with jnana. Karma combined with knowledge of who I am. I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm the Atma, the soul within. I'm eternal. This role that I'm playing as a mother, father, as a business person, as a leader, these are temporary roles that I'm playing. They're not me, right? The wealth that I might gain is not mine. It all belongs to God. So if I understand myself, if I understand the material realm that I'm moving through, if I understand God, this is called jnana. And when I act with, there's something that comes with jnana. There's something that comes with really understanding who I am. If we can really understand I'm not the body, if we can really understand I'm not the mind, we call this jnana. And there's something that comes along with jnana. It's like they say a coin has two sides. If you have one side of it, you definitely have the other side, right? You've heard that before. So if one side of the coin is jnana, what comes with jnana? Any idea of what I'm looking for? Jnana and vairagya, detachment, right? When you really see, I'm going to tell you a story, okay? Ready? We're going to work with your question here for a while. So we're going to zoom in, then we're going to zoom out. But then when we zoom out, then we're going to be better capable of zooming in. When I was growing up in New York, there was, back then there were only like 3 television channels. And late at night, a rerun of an old television show used to come on. I was growing up in the 70s, and this was a show from the late 50s and 60s, which to me then seemed like it was ages ago. It was a black and white television show, but they would only show it late at night, like at midnight. And when you're a kid, you can't stay up normally. But in the summertime, we'd be able to stay up, and sometimes I'd just stay up. I'd fight to stay awake just to watch this show. Just a half-hour show. And that show was called The Twilight Zone. Have you heard of this before? Twilight? Have you seen it? Have you seen Twilight Zone? Twilight Zone was... raise your hand if you have not heard of The Twilight Zone or seen The Twilight Zone. Okay, so most people. This television show was... every show was different. Like, it didn't have the same characters or the same setting. It was... each one was a new story. But they had a lot to make you think in there. Each one had something to really make you think about life. And so I'm going to tell the story of one. There was this very stoic narrator that would appear. He was just like the coolest guy, and he just was like, he was kind of like a yogi, like really even-minded, and he would just say these things like real stoic. And this episode opened up, and it looks like you're looking at the desert, and there's like a shack, a little home, a little shack of a home, and the narrator is saying, this actually, in this desert, there's this. He says this actually isn't a desert. He's saying this is the future. In the future, they don't have jails on Earth, but criminals, they take you and they fly you off to an asteroid. So this is actually an asteroid, and there's a person here that's a prisoner that's living in that shack, and he's dying of loneliness. Imagine how lonely you would be if someone flew you in a spaceship to an asteroid and there wasn't one other living being with you. Can you imagine? So then they show that man, and a spaceship comes and lands on the asteroid, and a man comes out, and he's like kind of like the prison guard. He brings the supplies for this man. And the man's saying, "Oh, it's so good to see you. See another human being. Stay here with me a little while. Let's play some cards. Let's talk. Let's just spend some time with me." And he says, "I would really love to spend time with you, but the Earth is moving and the asteroid is moving. So if I don't leave right away, I'll never make it back to Earth." But he says, but I want to share something with you. I know that you're dying of loneliness out here. But I want to tell you that back on earth, people are looking at your case, and a lot of people believe that you're actually innocent. So they're reviewing your trial, and I'm hoping that someday I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to take you back to earth, that they find you innocent, and I'll be coming here not to bring you supplies, but to take you back to earth. But I need to go now. I feel sorry that you have to suffer like this all alone, but I left you a gift. And I hope this gift makes your time here a little bit easier, and I'll see you in 3 months. And then he gets up in the spaceship and he flies away. Everybody with me? Are you captivated by this story? Interesting so far? It's going somewhere. I promise you it's going somewhere. So that gift is like a big crate. It's like a big wooden box. And the man cracks open the crate, and inside is a robot. Okay, but it's not like the robot looks exactly like a real human being. And it looks actually like an attractive female human being. And she, as soon as like the box is open, she comes to life. And she says, hello, my name's Alicia. What's your name? Now, at this moment, the man recognizes fully that this is not a human being. It looks like a human being, but it's not. Right? He's saying it's an illusion, right? It's an illusion of a human being. It's not real. I know that it's not real. What do we say for that which is not real? What do we in Sanskrit? What word is used? Maya, right? It's Maya. It's illusion, right? So he knows. What do we call knowledge in Sanskrit? Jnana. He has jnana, and so he can recognize Maya, and therefore he can at the same time have detachment. Right? She said, I want to be your friend. And he's like saying, am I so pitiful that I'm going to sit here and pretend that I'm having a human relationship with a hunk of I don't know what the robot would have been made out of, but with a hunk of artificial matter. There's no living being in there, right? But she says, no, I want to be your friend. And he's like, I'm not playing this game. And she keeps persisting, and he keeps resisting. He's not going to be, he's not going to enter into the illusion. But she's persisting, and he's resisting, and finally he pushes the robot. And she kind of crashes to the ground, kind of hard. And then she looks up at him. And when she looks up, a little tear comes rolling down her shapely cheekbone. Right? And when he sees that tear, something happens inside him. And he begins to say, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Now, what just happened? Right? He got a little confused here, right? When he saw that the picture, it pulled some strings in his heart, and he began to relate to a machine as if it was human. And that was just, the door opened to his illusion, and the illusion began to grow. And so the show begins to kind of fast forward. They're walking together, they're talking together, they're laughing together, they're holding hands together, they're smiling, they're looking into each other's eyes. And he's falling in love with a robot. Now he's totally an illusion. He's forgotten the truth. This is not a real woman, this is a robot. And now he's emotionally connected, emotionally tied. He's become very bound to this illusion. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? So now the rocket ship comes back a few months later. It lands. And the same man comes out of the rocket ship and he says, I have the best news for you. Just like I said earlier, I was waiting for the day that I could come back and they found you innocent. They found you innocent. You're a free man now. I'm here not to bring you supplies. I'm here to bring you back to Earth. Are you ready? Yes, this is the best news I could ever imagine. I'm so glad you've told me this. I'm so happy. And he said, but the Earth is moving and the asteroid is moving, so we need to go right now. So if you need to grab anything, grab it quick. Let's jump in the rocket ship and we're going back home. And he says, grab something. What do I need from here? I'm going back to Earth. I don't need anything here. Let me just grab Alicia and we're ready to go. And the man says, Alicia? He said, yeah, Alicia. And he's pointing to the robot. And he says, no, you don't understand. There's only so much fuel in this rocket ship. We can only carry so much weight. When I said grab something, I meant like a shirt. There's no way we could bring her back. She'd be too much weight and we'd never make it back to the earth. And he goes, but I can't leave her here. And he can see that he's in complete illusion now, right? He's saying, come on, come with me right now. We're going back. And he's like, but I can't leave Alicia here. And the man realizes that he's in so much illusion that he's incapable of taking the step forward that he needs to take for his own well-being, for his own good. You see? And so what he does is he takes out a gun. He points it at the robot. He shoots. And the man's like, no! And he shoots the robot. And the robot hits the ground hard. And when she hits the ground hard, her face comes off. And when her face comes off, you can see all the wires and the gears, and you can see it's not a human being, it's a machine. And the man watches that, and he watches the face come off. And he goes like this. He goes, thank you. Right? Thank you. That was hard to see, but you gave me my knowledge back. Now I understand. I was in illusion. I was attached to illusion, and I was incapable of moving towards my own freedom. He doesn't say these things, but this is all that's implied, right? Now that he has his knowledge back, when the face came off, he knew again the truth. It's not a human being, it's a robot. And so again, what did he get with that knowledge? Detachment. Now I can walk away, right? So with knowledge comes detachment. When we understand who I am, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. When we understand what this world is, that it's a constantly shifting, in a sense, an illusion, because everything in this world is here one moment and then gone the next. And when we understand the supreme that's behind it all and moving it all, when we understand all this, when we have this knowledge, then we can become detached from the things of this world. We don't see anything as mine. We don't see any external thing as necessary for my happiness. We know, we have the knowledge, the Atma-jnana, the knowledge of the self, that my nature is blissful within. I'm not dependent on anything external. I've come to terms with the fact that the external things are always destined to change. If things are up today, I know they're going to go back down tomorrow. And if things are down today, I know they're going to go back up the next day. I've come to terms with all that. I become detached from all of that. And with that knowledge and detachment, one can act in this world in the same roles that most people act in to get the stuff of this world. One can act in the same role without any attachment. And that is called? Anybody? Karma yoga. That is called karma yoga. Right? That is what karma yoga is. Action in this world, the responsibilities that we have in this world, combined with knowledge and detachment. Put the two together. Make your work world, your world of responsibility, make it the field of your yogic contemplation. And you can work in this world without being entangled in it. And that's called akarma. You can actually become liberated through it. Right? This is what Bhagavad Gita is telling us about karma. Arjuna had a hard time wrapping his head around it. He was so stuck in a stereotypical understanding of yoga. He thought yoga meant walking away from the world necessarily. And Krishna is saying, you know what, Arjuna, if you walk away from the world and you sit down to be a yogi and you go into your lotus position and try to meditate, but internally, you're still thinking about the things of this world, then you're not even practicing yoga at all. You're a pretender. You're pretending you're practicing yoga. And he says, actually, and this is the first verse of the 6th chapter of the Gita. Shall we read it together? Would you like that? Why don't you pull that up for us, Gabrielle? 6.1. Text 6.1, Bhagavad Gita. This is a very meaningful verse. This is after 4 chapters of trying to convince Arjuna that there's another type of yoga. And he's saying, no, but yoga means walking away from the world. Then Krishna says this. Krishna says, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work, to the results of their work, and yet who works as he is obligated. I do my duties in life, is in the renounced order. It actually, he uses the word sannyasi. He said he is a sannyasi. What is a sannyasi? Sannyasis are these gentlemen that wear the orange cloth and they walk away from home and they leave family, they leave the society. He's saying even though they're in the world and doing their responsibilities, because they're doing it with knowledge and detachment, they're sannyasis. And not only that, I actually got them right here. I should have been using them, but thank you for reminding me. I'm going to read the whole thing again. One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as they're obligated is in the renounced order. They are sannyasi. And they are the true mystic. He says they are yogi. And then he says, and not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Okay? Lighting the fire and performing the duty, that's the kind of thing that the sannyasis don't do. Because that's all in relation to your social responsibilities. Like that's what I'm going to explain right now. Right over here, if you go over there and look in that little, yeah, there's inside there's a square made of bricks, and inside there they light a fire, and they chant mantras, and they make offerings of grains and ghee into the fire. It's called a yagna, different sacrifice, and these sacrifices commonly were done for all the different responsibilities you have in life. It's a way of connecting with God and seeking blessings as you pass through different stages of life. So, for instance, if you get a new home, you would invite a priest over. They would light the fire, chant the mantras, and draw auspiciousness into that new setting, right? If you get married, they would light the fire. If you have a child, you would light the fire. And eventually at death, they light the fire. So all of the different kind of rites of passage in family life, in material life, they spiritualize it by lighting this fire. But the sannyasi, they don't have children. They don't have a house. You understand? They don't go through all these things, so they don't light the fire. So Krishna says, the fact that you walk away from your social responsibilities doesn't make you a yogi. It doesn't make you a sannyasi. It's the inner detachment, the inner wisdom and the inner detachment that makes you a yogi and that makes you a sannyasi. So this is you see, if we go back thousands of years, the first texts, important texts in this tradition that come out were the Vedas. And they taught how to live a harmonious, materialistic life, how to get the good things of this world by being a good person, how to be blessed by all the good things in life by being grateful to the gods and goddesses that provide everything and living in harmony with them. But then another body of text comes along and that says the wiser thing to do is to let go of your desires for the things of this world and walk away from them, renounce. So the first books were really meant for the priests, the four Vedas. And the second books, the Upanishads, were really meant for the renunciates. The Bhagavad Gita combined them both. The Bhagavad Gita took things to another level. Because when the Bhagavad Gita is part of the big Mahabharata, and that's what comes out next, it's told through a story that everybody can be captivated by. Those other texts were like not the easiest to read. The Vedas were technical. The Upanishads are deep philosophy and spoken in very cryptic language. But the Mahabharata is just incredibly fascinating stories, but still with the same spiritual depth. And within it, you have the Bhagavad Gita, which is all the Upanishadic knowledge condensed into 700 verses. And it reveals still more than the Upanishads do. So the Bhagavad Gita is, to this day, after thousands of years, continues to be the most read and most practiced book of all the Vedic literature. The real essence of India's spiritual wisdom. People know Bhagavad Gita to this day. Not too many people can quote to you Upanishads or Rig Veda or these things, but Bhagavad Gita is alive in people's life, and I believe a large part of the reason is it because it showed that you can be a yogi without walking away from the world. Even in your workplace, even in your family life, you can turn that into a practice of yoga. You can act in this world and not become entangled with reaction. You can make it karma yoga, like that. Is that okay? Do you have more? Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you very much. Your name again was?
Sarah.
Sarah.
I'm here every night.
Very good. Thank you, Sarah. Good question. Any other questions out there? You look like such a beautiful audience. You must have beautiful questions. Even one is all we need to get started and to continue. I could tell one more analogy maybe that relates to this. Should I do that?
Sure, of course, that would be wonderful.
Okay. It's a little touchy, this analogy, but bear with me because I think it illustrates a principle very clearly. The karma yogi and the karmi. Let's compare the two. The karmi means one who's engaged in karma, who's working in this world to get the results. They're working in the world with attachment. That's the common person. And then the karmi yogi is working in this world, but with detachment, right? Making it a field of yogic contemplation. Externally, the two look the same. They're doing the same things. They're waking up, they're going to work, they're doing their duties, etc. But one of them has a different inner life, and that's turning it into yoga, right? One of them may have a guru. Well, let's first look at the karmi, the materialist. He gets up, takes a shower, has his breakfast, walks to work, and while he's walking to work, he's thinking, today I'm going to make some money. Hopefully I'll make a good amount of money. And if I do make this, see the attachment already? I hope today that I'm going to be making a lot of money. I'm going to be happier if I do. And with that money, I'll be able to buy certain things that will help facilitate my happiness in life. The karma yogi, he has a guru. And the guru says a more realistic and better path for you than walking away from your family and walking away from your occupation is to engage in this world and use your talents. If you went out all alone there, you might actually really struggle with your spiritual life. But what you can do is wake up early in the morning, maybe a little bit earlier than the other guy. Take your shower, sit down in a clean place, open up the Bhagavad Gita, read it. Read it with an open mind and an open heart. Allow it to speak to you. Hear its message. Try to hear its message with detachment. Try to let it speak to you without you imposing your own ideas on it. Let it absorb into your mind. Let it absorb into your heart. Hear its message. Then when you're walking to work, you're not thinking, today I'm going to make money so that I can be happy. You're saying, today I'm going to act on behalf of God. Right? The things of this, your happiness is not dependent on the things of this world. You'll take the fruits of that work. You won't even see it as your own. You see your own family not as yours. You see your own family members as belonging to God. Question about that? That was you were asking? Yes.
So, um, before you go deeper in this, I want to know Krishna only spoke about good karma in Bhagavad Gita? Good karma? Is there anything that he explained about bad karmas that we have? How can we, like, what can we do if we have a bad karma? What can we do to fix that? Is there any suggestion he had?
Okay. In the earlier books, the Vedas that I was speaking about earlier, these are books that are how to cultivate good karma so that you can live a happy materialistic life. Okay? You with me? They also tell you about how to counteract bad karma. If you have bad karma, this is what you can do to counteract it. You can perform this ritual or that ritual. There's a term for that. It's called prayaschitta, the counteracting of bad karma. Now, as I mentioned, when you get to the next level of text, the Upanishads, they begin to look at that approach as being less mature in one's spiritual understanding. Trying to cultivate good karma and trying to counter bad karma is looked as a more shallow understanding of spiritual life. Sometimes it's said that one who does this is like the elephant taking a bath. Have you ever seen an elephant take a bath? The elephant is covered with dust, and then it goes into the water and all the dust is washed away. And the very first thing that it does when it comes out of the water is it rolls around in the dust. So we may counteract our bad karma, but the problem is the desire to do the same activities is still in the heart. So what's the point of counteracting it if you're just going to do it again anyway? What you need to do is deal with the desire. What you need to do is look inside your own heart and look at your desires and say, do they make sense? Are they wise? Are they selfish? Do they reflect my true nature, which is beyond selfishness? Go to the root of the problem. If there's a weed growing in your garden, there's two things you can do. One, you could just cut it. But if you just cut it, what's the problem? It just grows right back again. You have to go down to the root. You have to pull it out at the root, right? And so that counteracting bad karma through ritual is seen like just cutting it, but not going down to the root. So it's said that bhakti yoga goes right down to the very root of our materialistic desires. Right? So therefore, this guru has told his disciple, you learn to work in the world where you're giving up your own selfish desires. That's why I say when he says, my family is not mine, it doesn't mean he doesn't love the family. He loves the family in relation to God. He sees them as well as every living being in relation to God. But he knows these members of my family, I have a special responsibility on behalf of God to help care for them. So I take the money that I earn. I don't say this is my money. I say this is money that I'm responsible to engage well. I use some of it to care for my family because I have a direct responsibility to God to care for them. And then with the rest, let me see how I can use it in a way that will be most pleasing to God. So he's doing the exact same work, but he's got an entirely different internal life. And by cultivating that attitude and reflecting on that knowledge, he's letting go of his selfish desires. So he's going right to the root of the problem. So rather than counteract bad karma, he's letting go of the desire to act that way in the first place. And in this way, he's becoming free. Okay. Good. There's so much helpful information in these, right? It was a very good question. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sarah. Okay. Another question. Did you have a question? Raise your hand. Okay, one moment. Bring in the mic.
Like I told you last time, it's so elementary that I get embarrassed to speak about. But when I read like spiritual texts, I feel that I have a very hard time understanding what it says. And then I'm intimidated because I don't want to read it anymore because then I feel stupid. And I don't even know how to interpret something like the Bhagavad Gita.
Then all you need is a good teacher. You find a good teacher. These are texts that it's not the cultivation of spiritual knowledge and the spiritual path is like pursuing any rich field of knowledge. If you want to be a doctor, you don't just read medical books. You won't understand them. If you gave me an advanced text on from a medical college and gave it to me, I'd be looking through it, and most of it I wouldn't understand. I would need someone to teach it to me. So spiritual science is the same thing. You need a good teacher, but you don't feel dumb. Anybody that just picks it up and looks at it is gonna be a little bewildered and a little confused. But seek out a good teacher, someone that really understands it. Open up your ears. Nowadays, you just have to go to the internet, and there's so much you can find there. Keep searching there. Keep searching where you live if you can, to see who speaks in such a way to seem like. I'll give you a couple clues. I feel this is important because, like any other field, within this, just like in the medical field, you have some very authentic doctors that really care about healing. They're real, genuine healers. And then you have other people that are more into it for the money. They might be qualified, but they're not. They don't quite have as much compassion to help someone heal. And then you have some people that don't even have the qualification, but are pretending that they know something. And there's a word for them. You heard the word quack. We call them a quack, right? That they're pretending they have some kind of special medical knowledge and they actually don't, and they're making money off of it. Spiritual life is the exact same way. There's going to be people that are living it and teaching it because they deeply have a love for the wisdom in it. They understand it, they embody it, and they share it out of compassion. And then you have other people that they know a lot about it, but they may not have fully lived it, and they're doing it because they found a way to make money out of it. And then you have other people that don't even understand it at all, and that may even really be misleading people. And a lot of times people go straight to them. So what you want to look for is this tradition is built on a body of literature through which the teachings have been carried and handed down for thousands of years. The teacher should not be saying, look at me, I'm enlightened. I had this special experience in life, and then I understood everything. Hardly any of you guys have never had that, but I have. And so everything I say is special. And when a question gets hard, I start speaking in really vague ways, and everybody goes, oh, look how deep he is. Those kind of, don't look for someone that poses as the enlightened one. Look for someone who presents themselves as a representative. What I'm doing is I'm taking the knowledge that's always been handed down, and my role is to try to hand it down without changing it. It's called the transparent via media. Transparent means I don't get in the way. You see right through me to the body of wisdom that's been here all along. Look for that person that's transparent like that. They're not interested in making it a personality cult about themselves. They're interested in trying to represent a beautiful tradition that's been there all along. They don't glorify themselves. They don't allow other people to call them God, which you get a lot of this. You get this game that people play where they don't say that they're God, but all their followers are saying it, and they don't say, what are you talking about? I'm not God, right? Don't look for someone that poses as God. Look for someone that says, I'm a humble servant of God, like that. I'm just a representative of God, and I try to do it the best I can. When I do it well, I'm like a mailman. The mailman doesn't get any glory. The mailman just says, let me take this from this place, let me hand it over to you undamaged. And I'm just a mailman. When someone's speaking like that, then you might be onto like a genuine teacher. Right? And when they speak and you begin to, and it becomes clear to you, then you may be in touch with a genuine teacher that can really help you. Is that okay? Thank you very much. Very good, very important question. Very good question. Okay. Any other questions out there? It looks like such a bright audience. Yes. I'm forgetting your name, sir.
Shailesh. Shailesh. If you can throw some light on the soul's journey after it leaves this world to other lokas, and what does the soul experiences of all the lokas, and how the reincarnation happens.
Oh, that's like that question, you could speak about a very long time. You see, it can be difficult to understand this because the texts are so broad that it's a little hard to put it all together. But there's one of the great sages that lived 500 years ago that is one of the dearest to my mind and to my heart. He has such a beautiful story. Let me share a little bit about this person, and then I'll share about the book that he wrote that talks about what you've asked. Is that okay? His name was Sanatana Goswami. He had a brother named Rupa Goswami. They were born in Saraswata Brahmana families. So these are families that had a deep, rich spiritual bhakti tradition. But he was living in Bengal 500 years ago at a time when the Muslim government had taken over everything. These two men were so brilliant, Rupa and Sanatana, that they had the ability to practically manage the entire nation. And that nation is today what comprises most of Bengal, Bangladesh, and parts of what is now called Orissa. So this was it was a country in itself, essentially. Like we think of India as one country, but it's really many countries. And so this covered one whole country, which we now call Bangladesh, and the state of what we now call West Bengal, and then a part of Orissa, another state. So it was a huge kingdom. They were such expert managers that they were running it on behalf of the Muslim ruler. They were kind of coerced into it. They were coerced into it because like the Muslim rulers say, you can come and work for me and do all this, or I can really start to oppress your Hindu people. So they had to do it. And they did it with expertise. And in doing it, they were given incredible material opulence, incredible wealth, incredible power, and all the things that come with wealth and power. But internally, they weren't interested in any of that. Internally, they had faith in Sri Krishna. They had this bhakti inside. And they knew about this great figure, Sri Chaitanya, who was spreading bhakti all over. Eventually, they both managed to get out of their duties to the Muslim government. It was risky, but they managed to escape. And they went to Vrindavan. And there they at one point in their life, they were living with incredible material opulence. They had wealth and palaces. Now, all they had to their name was like a loincloth and a begging bowl, right? They would sleep under a different tree every night, right? And they would just chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? And feel the deepest feelings of prema in their hearts, of divine love in their hearts. Sri Chaitanya engaged them in composing books that become the foundation of this particular bhakti lineage. And these books, they're so fascinating and so brilliant, and so their nephew, Jiva Goswami, also joined them. There was a group of these renunciates. They're called the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Have you heard of them? The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. They were the foundation of the spreading of this beautiful bhakti movement, which now is spreading all over the world. And so they were engaged in writing the most important texts. Jiva Goswami wrote incredibly deep philosophy that was answering all the different presentations of Vedanta. Rupa Goswami was called the Rasa Acharya. He was writing books on how to develop this love, the different practices that help you develop it. And he was writing dramas of Radha and Krishna's Leelas and other books of poetry that were absolutely stunning. They were prolific. Even though they didn't have a home or an office or a typewriter or a computer, they were scratching these verses into palm leaves, but they were coming out with vast bodies of literature. And Sanatana Goswami wrote many books, many important books. They would draw... There's a song about them. Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipano Sadharma Sanstapa. It's saying that they would draw from Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipano. They would take this vast body of ancient literature, and they would take from it and put it all together in such a way where we can understand it. So someone like you who's probably been familiar with this for a long time, you might still be a little cloudy. What happens when you die and you go to Vaikuntha? What does it look like there? He drew from all the different texts and spelled it all out for us. And he did it in the most fascinating book you could ever read in your entire life. It's one of the most incredible reads, and it's called the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He tells the story of one soul's journey from the earth, moving up to the heavens of King Indra, moving up to the still higher planets where the sages live, Brahmaloka, Tapaloka, out of the universe up to this Mahesh Dham, through the Brahmajyoti, through the divine light, and then into the Vaikuntha planets, where he sees Vishnu and all of Vishnu's devotees. As you pass through all these stages, each stage, the heavenly planets, the planets still higher, the Mahesh Dham, the Brahmajyoti, Vaikuntha, he gives elaborate descriptions of each. And each one of them is so incredibly beautiful that it's very tempting to stay right there. But he has an inner calling to keep going. Even when he gets to Vaikuntha and sees Lord Vishnu, he's overwhelmed with bliss and seeing Lord Vishnu and his devotees and feeling the bhakti that everybody there is feeling. But he's still called to go further, 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 until he comes to Goloka Vrindavan, the very pinnacle, where Krishna is displaying his pastimes in the most intimate way. And he wakes up in that world, and the first thing he sees is Sri Krishna coming home in the evening as the sun is setting, with his brother Balaram and all his cowherd friends and the cows. And when Krishna sees him, Krishna is so happy that he faints. He embraces him, then he faints. Then he wakes up again and embraces him again. And he just pulls him straight into the most beautiful Leela. There's elaborate descriptions of what he goes through. So there are books that describe these things. And but there's a message in that book that's really important. Is that whatever stage he passed through, even in the beginning, he didn't even understand the spiritual path very well. But he had faith in one thing. He had faith in his mantra. That if I keep chanting this mantra, that it'll carry me forward. It'll carry me forward. He never gave up the chanting of the mantra. And it took him to all these different stages in life. It's a fascinating story. Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami.
My question was inspired from the temple which is coming up in the Mayapuram, which is based on the same theme.
The temple that's coming up in Mayapur, he's mentioning right now, the building is up, the inside is being worked on, it's been years, but a temple that was prophesied centuries ago, from which bhakti would spread all around the world, I was just there a couple weeks ago, and I took a tour of the whole inside. It's tremendous. But within, it'll have a dome that, I don't know if it's the largest dome in the world, but it might be like the second largest. Is it the largest dome? Largest dome for a religious building, I think. And so it's so... Do you know how high it is? It's stunning to see it. But coming down from that dome, hanging from the ceiling, will be a representation of all the different levels that we're talking about. The heavenly planets and the different 14 planetary systems within this universe. And then beyond that to the Vaikunthas. And then beyond that to the realm of Rama. And then all the way up to the realm of Goloka Vrindavan and Radha and Krishna. And then there'll be balconies, huge, massive balconies that go around this. And on each one, the story of that I'm telling you, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and these different levels will be shown. So that you can go there and not only see the deities and be blessed by that darshan, but receive an incredible education. And then next to that is another dome where they're going to have like these incredible like planetarium and multimedia displays on the dome, where you get a full education in spiritual life, sitting back on one of these kind of reclining chairs and looking up at that. It'll be, right now, temples are more popular in India than they've ever been in history. And there are great temples all over India where every day thousands of people go. This temple will be the next great one to rise. Some of these are ancient temples that go back centuries. This is the next great one to rise. but it'll be the one. It'll add this modern effect to it. One, that you'll be able to see the whole cosmology laid out in front of you. It's one thing to hear about it, but it's another thing to see the visual representation. And you're like, oh, now I get it. But also all the spiritual education that'll be taking place in there in really modern and accessible ways will make this temple an incredibly powerful influence. It was predicted centuries ago, and we're living in the point of history where we can watch it rising. Thank you. The Temple of the Vedic Planetarium in the place called Mayapur in West Bengal. It'll be a place that you'll all want to go visit. They're saying that it will open next year. I don't believe it actually will. I think it'll take a little bit longer. But you can already begin to get a feel of what it's going to be like. Yes. Who has another question? We're looking for a question. An innocent question. There we go.
What's the fastest way to get purified and have an encounter with Lord Krishna? A personal encounter. What's the fastest way?
I mean, there's many ways I can answer that. One, I would say just walk into that room right now. And that's a very powerful way. Yeah. But in another sense, I can say it's good to have eagerness. The kind of eagerness you're expressing is a good thing. And at the same time, we also have to have patience. So both have to be there, right? Both have to be there. Yeah. But I would say I would recommend a couple things. I'll recommend a few things. One is hearing. If you every day hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, these books are powerful for Krishna Bhakti. If you want to develop Krishna Bhakti, you hear from them every day. You make that a vow. Then the next thing you do is you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. For this age, this mantra has been stated in the ancient text. In this age, it's the most powerful way. So you combine hearing, but the hearing is so that you really understand what you're chanting. Because you're chanting Krishna's names, but you really want to know about Krishna, so that you chant with greater faith and greater depth. So hearing and chanting. And I would say another thing, trying to live very close, trying to get some association from very advanced devotees who have this kind of love. If you can approach them with humility, don't become a burden to them, don't annoy them, but be close and hear from them and see the example of how they live. This is a very powerful way. So I'd say these three I'd put right up front. Hearing the sacred text on a daily basis, chanting Krishna's names on your own as japa as well as in kirtan. Kirtan is very important. And then third, hearing and being close with very advanced Vaishnavas, very advanced bhakti yogis. That's a powerful recipe. And in one sense, quick is if you can do it in this lifetime, it's quick. Right? But it's not that you're not feeling it as you're moving towards it too, and that's very satisfying as well. Good question. Good question. I like that question. Yes, over here.
Okay, so my question is, how can we do so our actions and decisions are guided by God, and how to distinguish where our decisions, our desires come?
Again, how do we know that our desires? No. How do we know that our actions, our decisions? Let me give you the mic back. I'm sorry. Sometimes when I get asked two questions, I forget the first one.
Okay, I will do the first one. So, how we know our decisions and actions from everyday life are guided by God?
It's said that there's a good formula for that. That there are three things that you check with: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. These three. So Guru means ideally you found someone in life you can't rush this, but one should seek this. Found someone in life who deeply imbibes these teachings, lives them authentically, and understands the path so well that they can give you very good advice. Also, that they are compassionate and have a feeling of love for you, so that they want the best for you. That person can help you a lot. Sometimes they can know you better than yourselves, because our decisions and what we think is the right thing to do is often clouded by our desires. And so to have someone that really cares about us, that has a deep understanding of the path and wants the best for you. This is what Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna turned to his friend Krishna, but said, now, rather than be my friend, I'm asking you to be my guru. And then towards the end of the Gita, you hear Krishna begin to speak like this. He's saying, Arjuna, please hear everything that I said. Please consider it all very carefully and then do what you want to do. But I'm sharing all of this with you because you're so dear to me. It's for your own good, so please consider it very carefully. That's the mood of guru to disciple. Like that. So one is guru. One is called sadhu. Sadhu means all the other saintly people, all the other people that really live this path. And there's histories of these great sadhus throughout the ages. So, like, for instance, a text like the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 18,000 verses, it tells of the life of many great sadhus. There's a verse inside the text, Titikshava Karunaka, Surida Sarvadehinam, Ajatra Sacha Santava, Sadhava Sarubhushana. Sarubhushana. The word bhushana means, anyone know what bhushana means? Bhushana? Do you know? Bhushana means like the ornaments. The ornaments. Like jewelry is like bhushana, like different ornaments. Yeah. Sadhu bhushana means the ornaments of the sadhu. When we say the word sadhu, generally we think of these men with the dreadlocks and it's all wrapped up and they're wearing just a lungi and they walk around and wander and beg. And that's what the word has come to mean. But really what it means is someone that has these ornaments. Titikshava, they're tolerant. Like someone may dress like that and wander, but if they're intolerant, then externally they're a sadhu, but more important is what's internal. Titikshava karunaka, they're tolerant, meaning most of us are getting disturbed by this and that, and we're complaining about the different circumstances. They can tolerate with a peaceful mind. Titikshava karunaka, they're compassionate and merciful. They really care about others. And they'll act out of that compassion. Titikshava karunaka, suridam sarvadehinam, suhrit. Su means good, and hrit means heart. Suridam sarvadehinam. They have a good heart towards every living being in the world. They're the friend of every living being. They're the good-hearted friend. Suhrid also means friend. So it means they're the good-hearted friend. They have nothing but good wishes for everyone. They're not bearing resentment towards anyone. We can all look into our own mind and in our own heart. And is there someone in this world that we don't actually wish them well, but we actually hope that they fail? We maybe hope a little bit that they suffer. Maybe because we've been hurt by them. There's some resentment there. The sadhu doesn't have that for anyone. There's not one person in this world that they see as an enemy. They're the friend to all. Titikshava karunaka surida sarvadehinam. That's what the next, Ajatra Satra. They have no enemy in the world. They're a friend to everyone. They have no enemies. What's it? Shantam, they're peaceful, right? The Sarubhushana, these are the ornaments of the sadhu. Right? So guru, we need to have guru. Sadhu, it means we may know other people that are like this, but we may also hear the stories of the people that had these qualities. You can open up an 18,000 text like Srimad Bhagavatam. You can open up like the 100,000 verse text of Mahabharata. You can read the Ramayana. These are the Bhakti Shastras, called Bhakti Shastras. Actually, India's whole culture grows out of these three texts more than anything. It's the Bhakti text. It's not the other texts. They have their place, but because Bhakti is Bhakti is for everyone. You can be a little child. You can be an old person. You can be from any background. Every living being has the inherent right to develop this, to awaken this love in themselves. And so the Bhakti Shastras speak to everyone, and they speak with a kind of beauty and culture and story, like an incredibly important text like the Yoga Sutras has not informed Indian culture the way that Mahabharata has, or Ramayana has, or Srimad Bhagavatam has. The story, all the music is based on these texts. The classical Indian music, the classical Indian dance is based on these texts, right? The architecture, the sculpture, the poetry, it's all coming from the Bhakti Shastras and deeply influenced by the Bhakti Shastras. So within those texts come the stories of all of the sadhus. And it can be so if we're making the decision, we might I'll give you an example. Within the past few days, I spoke up about a particular conflict within a spiritual community. All right. I felt I had a certain responsibility to. So I did it, and I did it publicly. And I got a lot of response from that. And some of the responses were in disagreement with me, but they were respectful. Some of the responses were in agreement with me, and they were respectful to the people that I was critiquing. And some of them appreciated what I said, and they spoke up, but they were speaking about the people that I was critiquing with a bit of hostility, without giving them the benefit of the doubt that even though they had a different position, that maybe it was coming from a good place. Rather, they were condemning them and speaking harshly about them, right? So that was on my mind because I didn't want to generate that kind of response. In my speaking, I was trying to bring a sense of peace and unity rather than stir up hostility. And as I was speaking to a friend today, he brought up an example that comes from these sacred texts, an example of a great sadhu, someone that had all those qualities, titikshava, karunika, tolerance, compassion, all of that. And that person's name was Yudhishthira. Are you familiar with Yudhishthira? He was the elder brother of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. So if you read, the Bhagavad Gita is just a small part of a huge epic called the Mahabharata, which is the story of Arjuna and his brothers. And his elder brother, the leader of the brothers, was named Yudhishthira. And the five brothers went through all kinds of difficult trials in life. But Yudhishthira, through them all, he always behaved like a sadhu. He never allowed hostility to ever enter into his heart, even when he was being attacked by others, even when his life was threatened by others. And the people that were threatening his life were his own cousins. And the person that was meant to prevent that was his own uncle, the brother of his own father. And that uncle many times was being advised by the sadhus to be kind and compassionate to Yudhishthira and his brothers and love them just the same way you love your own sons. But somehow in his heart, his attachment for his own family, he saw them as mine. And although he knew right from wrong, although he knew his own sons were behaving in horrible ways, he always allowed it to happen, always found a way to rationalize it, always found a way to justify it. And due to that weakness, a huge war took place. And thousands and thousands and thousands of people died, including his own sons. So after that war has taken place, his own sons are all gone. The kingdom that he was the king of no longer belongs to him. It belongs to his nephew Yudhishthir, who he should have protected all along. And Yudhishthir had every rational reason to be hostile towards him, even kill him for what he had allowed to happen. But Yudhishthir didn't see it that way. He says, he didn't have an enemy in the world. Even though there are people that saw him as their enemy, he could never see someone as an enemy. So he took his uncle into his home and he cared for him the way that he would care for someone that he loves. So when it comes to making decisions, can we look to an example like that? Guru, we can inquire from Guru. Sadhu, can we look at these ancient texts and see the examples of great souls and therefore not speak with hostility when there's tension like that? Try to see the good in everyone. Try to move through this world without an enemy in the world, with not one drop of hostility. We can recognize right and wrong. We can address it, but never with hatred, never with hostility. So Guru, Sadhu, and the third one is Shastra. Shastra means the sacred texts themselves, these holy books. Again, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Srimad Bhagavatam. These are really important ones. The decisions that I'm making in life, I can look towards Guru, I can look towards Sadhu, I can look towards Shastra, and allow these three to guide me. See if my decision is in harmony with these three. This is the way wise people move through the world. Like that. Is that helpful? That was your first question, right? And your second question I've forgotten now too, so please remind me of that again.
The second question is connected. Is how can we distinguish from where our desires come?
This is so important. Spiritual life, it requires honesty. And not only honesty with other people, that's very important, but also honesty with oneself. And sometimes that's the most difficult honesty. And so we need to be able to look at our desires and say, is this truly the right thing? Is this desire? There's a saying, one sadhu once shared with me. Were you at today's class in the morning? Okay. The yogis, they're so brilliant, and the sacred texts are so brilliant in the way that the yogis explain it, that they can explain how the mind works. And they say there are three departments in the mind. If our mind is a computer, there's three applications that are processing the information. And one of them is called the ahankara. The ahankara means the false ego, the false sense of who I am. And another one is called the buddhi. The buddhi is the reasoning aspect, the intellect, the intelligence, the discerning part of the mind. And what this sadhu told me is he said that the act of rationalization, you understand rationalization? The act of rationalization is the buddhi, the rational part of our mind working in the service of the ahankara, the false ego. You understand? Within our own mental faculty, it can actually be working against us. We a lot of times we say this is the right thing to do, and then we use our intellect to justify it, to rationalize it. But really, are we truly doing the right thing, or are we doing it in support of the false sense of who we are? So this type of honesty is really important. How do we know our own desires? Are they coming from myself? Are they coming from the pure self underneath the different layers of the mind? Or are they coming from within the mind itself? Right? Because our mind is, there's the third part, the third application of the mind is called the manas. And it's just programmed with desire. It's the interface with the senses. And so this part of the mind and the senses are very closely tied together. And commonly, we follow them. The desires that the mind is programmed with, we tend to see them as our own desires. Whereas the yogis, they look at the programming in the mind as if it's something separate from myself. Have you ever taken a meditation class before? Have they asked you to sit still with a straight back and then asked you to close your eyes? Then have they asked you to bring your mind to your breath? Okay. So all of that is very useful because it helps one leave behind the past, forget about the future, come right into the present. That breath, when you bring your mind to your breath, you forget about what you're doing a half hour ago, and you forget about what you have to do when you stop this meditation, and you get right into the moment. So it's useful techniques. The yogis, they understood about a lot about the mind, and they invented techniques to help us learn about the mind and ultimately overcome the obstacle of the mind. So once you're breathing like that, and you've brought your mind to the breath, and you've kind of let the past and the future go, then often they ask you to look at your own thoughts. Have you done that before? Look at your own thoughts. You look at your own thoughts, and what do they also tell you? Don't try to change them, right? Just look at them, watch them come and watch them go, right? That act, what it does for one, is it helps us understand a very simple truth that many people may go their entire life and never understand. And that is that I'm not my mind. I'm the soul looking at the world through the mind. And these thoughts in my mind are not me. They're programming within that mind. And once you do that and you really get that, you can become free of the programming of your mind. And you can look at the desires there and see that desire came from some programming in my life. It could have been programmed another way. It's not actually helpful for me. It's just like my computer got hacked with this desire. And I think I need this to be happy. I need that to be happy. But I don't actually need any of those things. And then the yogi begins through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. They understand that the desire of the soul has nothing to do with the temporary things of this world. The true desire that's within is desires connected to loving service. Desires that are entirely selfless. Desires within the realm of love of divine, and through loving the divine, loving every living being. Those desires we can put trust in. Right? Those desires. It's not saying that every other desire is bad, but it's saying if they take us away from that inner life, then we need to really consider them and see, am I allowing them to pull me away? To pull me away. I was sharing this morning that when I was young and I was like 15 years old, I would run around New York City and I would feel I'm free. Free to pursue all my desires. And that taste of freedom, sometimes when I go to the same place, I still live in New York City, and sometimes when I pass through the places of my youth, there's something deep in the subconscious mind that rises up and I taste that same taste. What it felt like to feel free for the first time. But now when I look back at that time, I see I wasn't free at all. I was pursuing the desires that were programmed in my mind. And the yogis, they have an analogy for that. They say it's like a bull. You've seen a bull before. It's an incredibly powerful creature. It can plow land, it can move incredible weight. But if you put a ring in its nose and tie a rope to that straight, a little child can pull that bull and take it wherever it wants it to go. And so the yogi's saying we're like that. We're powerful. Spiritually, we have great power, great spiritual power. But when we have the ring of our own desires in our nose, then we can get pulled all over the place. We can forget our spiritual power. And we just pursue the programmed desires in our mind. It's a shame. It's a real shame. So keep in mind this Guru Sadhu Shastra. Do you like to read these sacred texts? Have you read Bhagavad Gita a little bit? I really recommend Bhagavad Gita as it is. I recommend the book, the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a big, huge book. Even if you begin with the first canto of it, first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, so much fascinating stories and so much wisdom about life, and it starts to really send you in the right direction. If I have a friend. He's more than a friend to me. He's a friend and he's a mentor to me. And I consider this friend to be a living Bhagavad Gita. Whenever I see him, he's living the Bhagavad Gita. He's living the truth of it. And at any moment, he's bringing up the verses. He has so much of it memorized. Whenever I'm with him, I'm uplifted. And he once came to a center where I was very involved. And I would often do the graphic arts and promote the different programs that are happening in the center. So he was giving a talk, and the title of it sounded like one of these self-help talks, like 3 keys to transforming your spiritual life, right? They will open up the door to your spiritual life and transform it immediately if you adopt any of these 3. And I was like, okay, all right, I trust him. But it sounds a little to me like it's okay. It's saying a little bit more than it probably can deliver. But then he sat down and started speaking. He said, if you read 1 chapter of Bhagavad Gita, every day your life will change. And then I thought for a second, I said, he is absolutely right. That is a key. That one thing, if you open up your heart, you do it right. This is how the yogis do it. They don't see it just as a book. They see the Bhagavad Gita as non-different from God. It's a manifestation. It's the message of God. It's a manifestation of the potency of God. They see it as alive. They don't just put it on the ground. They'll always place it with respect. When they open it up, it's almost like when you go before a very special person. They open it up like that. And then and even when they open up, maybe they slow down a bit and they say a little prayer. Please speak to me. Please allow me to hear your message. Please allow me to set aside my own ego, my own false desires, so that I hear your message clearly without it going through a filter, right? I want this message to penetrate my mind and penetrate my heart, and I want to be able to feel the transformative power of it. So you open up the Bhagavad Gita like that, right? If you do that and read a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita every day, I know your life will change. If you do it in that mood, right, your life will change like that. It really is. It's really like that. So I really encourage you, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, read these books. You can find good teachers on them too. And there's nothing like it. There's really nothing like it. You get to a point in life where it becomes your great joy to hear from these texts. And when you have that, you can carry them with you. The yogis, they memorize these verses. Any good yogi, they can just start reeling off the verses. They know them. Dihino sminyata dehe komram yovanam jara tatade hantara praptir dhiras tattanamuyati machasparsh. They've got it. Because when they've got it inside, they become a walking Bhagavad Gita. And wherever they go, they can transform their consciousness just by reaching down and pulling up the verses. You could be in the most stressful situation, a situation where most people are suffering intensely because of the external circumstance. And you can reach down and pull out a verse. Chintamani prakarasadma sukopa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhira vipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra satasabhrama sevimanam Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. You pull that up from your memory bank and you're transported. Whatever was stressful, it becomes, in relation to this, it becomes not so important. You feel refreshed. You feel purified. And you carry this treasure. Each one is like a treasure that you have that nobody can take away. Nobody in the world, time can't take it away. No thief can take it away. No enemy can take it away. It's the greatest treasure, and you have it with you. There's no greater treasure than this spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge, spiritual wisdom. It's really a wonderful pursuit in life. And you seem like a person that understands this. Yeah. I really encourage you. Go for it. Go for it. You'll never regret that you did. Thank you. Okay. We're out of time for tonight. It has been a real wonderful joy spending this time with you all. Maharaj, thank you so much. You're the great soul behind all this. That's the Kirtan, the Prasadam, the discussions, all the wonderful booths, bringing everyone together. I offer my deepest respect to you, Maharaj, for sharing so much with everyone. He's a person like this. Walking Bhagavad Gita, sadhu. He's got all the sadhu bhushana, all the ornaments of a sadhu. He lives it. I encourage you to approach this wonderful soul here and ask him if he could share any of his wisdom of life with you. Thank you all so very much. Hari Om Tat Sat.